Today we're making a basic crop top. I used 164 grams of Red Heart Super Saver in the color Royal. And this is a 100% acrylic and number 4 or medium weight yarn. And I also used a 5mm crochet hook, a yarn needle, and some scissors. So here's a quick overview of what we'll be doing. So we'll start with one panel and we'll start with the ribbing, and then we'll add on the body, and then on the right side we'll do a triangular shape to form the neckline and the armholes, and then we'll do that to the other side, and then this first panel is done, and then we'll do an identical second panel, and then we'll lay them on top of each other, and the white squiggly lines are where we'll sew them together. So we'll start with the ribbing, and first we'll need a slip knot. To make a slip knot, grab the tail end of your yarn and place it beneath your palm. Then grab the top of the yarn, wrap it around 2 fingers to form an X, then use your hook and go under, then over, and pull the yarn through, remove your fingers and tighten the knot. And always make sure to leave about 5 inches to sew in later. And now we'll chain 11. To chain, yarn over and pull through. Again, yarn over and pull through. So here are 2 chains, and we'll do 9 more until we have 11. Now that we have 11 chains, we're going to do 10 half double crochets across. So yarn over, insert your hook into the second chain from the hook, yarn over, pull through, and yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And again, to half double crochet, yarn over, insert your hook into the next chain, yarn over, pull through, then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And we're going to continue this until we reach the end of this chain. And by the end of this chain, we should have 10 half double crochets. So we've just finished our first row of half double crochets, and we're going to chain 1 and turn and start the next row. The chain 1 at the start of every row does not count as a half double crochet. And these next rows will be worked in the back loops only. So that means after you yarn over, you're going to insert your hook from the top of the V and through and out the back, catching only the back loop, and then finish your half double crochet. And once we reach the end of the row, we'll chain 1 and turn. And we're just going to continue these rows of 10 half double crochets in the back loop only until we get the length of the ribbing that we want. And this length should be about half the size of your waist. And if you want it to have a looser fit like I did, you can add a couple of more rows. I did a total of 40 rows, which is about 40 centimeters. And for reference, my waist is 60 something centimeters, so it is a little larger than half. And also keep in mind that the ribbing does stretch. And now we're going to be working along the side of the ribbing to finish the rest of the top. So we'll chain 2 and start working double crochets along the side of each row of ribbing. And the chain 2 at the beginning of every round does not count as a double crochet. I wanted the ribbing and body to line up and not flare out, so I found that each 2 rows of ribbing should have 3 double crochets in the side. And just so it's clear, to the right of my finger are 2 rows, and they're separated by a sort of line. And then here are another 2 rows, and then another 2 rows. And to do double crochet, yarn over, insert your hook into the side of the first rib row, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and then yarn over and pull through 2 loops. And then again, we're going to yarn over, and this time I'm going to insert my hook in between the first and the second rib row. Then I'll yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and yarn over, pull through 2 loops. And for my third double crochet, I'm going to insert that into the second rib row. And so again, every 2 ribbed rows, we're going to have 3 double crochets into it. And you can see here that I've crocheted along the side of 6 ribbed rows, and I have 9 double crochets on top of it. So if you started with 40 rows of ribbing and did 3 double crochets, every 2 ribbed rows, you should have a total of 60 double crochets at the end of this row. You should have an even number of stitches and it should be laying pretty flat on its own. And once we're done with our first row, we can chain 2, turn, and start the second row. And in this row, we're just going to do 60 double crochets all the way across. And unlike the ribbing, for this part, we're going to be working under both loops. So every time you do your double crochet, make sure to go under both loops of the V. And we're going to do 60 double crochets for 10 total rounds. So the first round is directly on top of the ribbing, and then we're going to do 9 more rounds after that. So here are my 10 rounds, and you can add more to make it longer or do less to make it shorter, but this is where the neckline and the armholes start. After doing 10 rounds, the sides of the panel should be straight and you should still have 60 double crochets. And to form the neckline and the armholes, we're going to chain 2 and turn. And for this next row, we're going to do a decrease. So we're going to double crochet together the first 2 stitches. And to do that, we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into the first stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and then we'll yarn over, insert our hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, and yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And then we're going to do 26 double crochets. If you have a different number of stitches, then it's going to be your number divided by 2 minus 4. So 60 divided by 2 is 30, minus 4 is 26. Once we've done 26 double crochets, we're going to do another decrease. So again, we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, pull through just 2 loops, then yarn over, insert a hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. And now we'll chain 2, turn, and repeat this pattern. So the first 2 stitches of this row, we're going to double crochet together, and then we're going to double crochet until there's only 2 stitches left on the end, and then we'll double crochet those last 2 stitches together. And we're just going to continue doing a decrease on either end of the row for 14 rows. And the stitch count for the first row was 26 double crochets in the middle, the second will be 24, the third will be 22, and it just keeps decreasing by 2 stitches. And you can do less rounds to have a wider strap. And after your 14th row, you should have 2 stitches left. And now we're going to chain 2, turn, and then we're going to do 2 rows of just 2 double crochets without decreasing because we want the strap to be straight. And then chain 2, turn, and do 2 more double crochets into these 2 stitches. And then we're going to fasten off by chaining 1 and then cutting our yarn about 5 inches. And then we'll pull through with our hook and tighten the knot. Now we can flip our project over and work the next triangle. So first we'll look at the middle and at the top and look for the stitch to the left of the decrease that we did. And then we're going to insert our hook into that stitch and then pull our yarn through completely and then tie a double knot to attach our yarn there. Then insert your hook back in and yarn over and pull through. And now we can chain 2 and replicate the triangle. So again, this will start with a decrease in the first 2 stitches, 26 double crochets through the middle, and then a decrease in the last 2 stitches. And now we can fasten off and we're done with our first panel, and then we're going to make an identical second panel, except at the top we're going to fasten off but leave maybe 10 inches instead of 5, since we're using this extra length to sew up the tops. So to sew up the shoulder parts, I'm going to grab my yarn needle and thread the longer loose end into my needle. And then I'm going to go along the outside stitches on both panels and just weave my needle in and out of both of these panels and try to get it as flat as possible. And you want to make sure that your sides are aligned and you're connecting both ends completely. Once we finish sewing it up, we can use that loose end and tie a knot with the other loose end that's right next to it. And then we can leave that later for us to sew in. And then we'll do the same with the other shoulder. And now we can sew down the sides of the top. And to start sewing down the sides of the top, first I'm going to cut my yarn, and I usually cut it about 3 times the length of what I have to sew. And then I'm going to find the point at the very bottom of the triangle where it's completely straight, and then I'll insert my hook into those stitches and pull my yarn through. And then I'll double knot it to attach my yarn like we did before. And then using my yarn needle, I'm going to go back and forth in a sort of clockwise motion to sew together both panels. And I don't have a particular technique or specific stitches that I go into because they're kind of difficult to see, but I just make sure that each row is lined up with the other on both sides. And then once we get to the ribbing, I do have a specific technique that I do. I go from the back and catch only the back loop of the bottom panel. Then I go over and catch only the front loop of the front panel. And then I pull it through and continue going in that clockwise motion in the back loop of the back panel, then the front loop of the front panel. And then once we're finished, we can tie a double knot with the loose end that's already there. And if you don't have a loose end there, then just loop your loose end into a stitch and tie a double knot using the stitch. And we'll just do this to the other side too. And the very last thing is to weave in our loose ends. So grab your yarn needle and then grab a loose end and thread it through your yarn needle. And then we're going to go under a few stitches. And then we're going to pull our yarn needle through and then turn around, skip one loop, and go back under those same stitches. And if you have extra, then turn around and go under those same stitches once more. And if there's just a little bit of excess, then just cut that off and do that to the rest of the loose ends and you should be finished. And here's how the top fits on me. I thought this was a really fun and quick project. It only took me a day, and that is all for this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe and comment any questions. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.